Alright, I've got most of the motor torn apart. I've taken off all the what we were going to consider accessories. The water pump, the starter, the governor, the distributor, all of the things off the front, anything that attaches to it, the oil filter. The oil pump's actually down in this pan right here, so I can't take that off just yet. But I haven't been doing much video today. I've been mostly wanting to try and get this thing torn apart, so I'm gonna not necessarily do a step-by-step video on how to restore this. There's plenty of other YouTube videos out there that kind of go through the steps, and I think they're more qualified to show you than I am. And then also, I know that Steiner Tractor sells a video on how to rebuild these, so I've got that on order. I'm going to watch it and see how it's done so I can pretty much do this myself. But I figure taking the parts off, as long as I label them and keep them organized, then that shouldn't be a problem. They should all just come off. So here's everything that I've taken off of the tractor today. And what I basically have done is if it came off with a bolt or a gasket, I put it inside a plastic bag, a sandwich bag or a Ziploc bag, and then labeled what's inside of it so that I know exactly where it is. And then if I took it off the tractor, I put it onto this piece of plywood that's laying on top of my table saw, so that I know that when I go to put things back, I should not have anything left over. And for the parts that you see sitting up front here, I have new gaskets and a couple of other new parts in the boxes, is that when I took the old part off, and if I knew I had a replacement, I went ahead and put it over here on the floor so I wouldn't use it, and then put the new part on the table. This should help me to remain organized and make sure that I don't have any parts left over. And that's pretty common with me. Whenever I take something apart, I always have a piece, if not more, left over. But I figured in this case, I better not have any. So what I need to do now is, right there where that dark spot is, I need to block underneath the transmission, so that when I go to roll away the front end, that the back end is supported and it won't collapse in the middle. So that's the next thing that I need to do. As you can see here, I've got an engine stand right in front of the tractor, as well as a cherry picker over here that folds up kind of small. It's actually got a small footprint when it's collapsed, so that's pretty good. Picked those up off of Craigslist. I don't have any kind of equipment like that, but to rent this kind of equipment was $50 to $60 a day, and I knew that I was going to be, using it for several days, as I take this engine apart and put it back together. So it was just much more economical to find some used ones on Craigslist. So, for 150 bucks, I picked up the pair, so not a bad deal. So what I need to do next is take off the bolts that connect into the front of the engine here, and that's where most of the front end is connected, minus these stabilizer bars and suspension. So pretty much what's holding it up is there's 6 bolts in the front that get connected into the engine. So that's what's holding that up. So let me go ahead and get something underneath the transmission to support the middle. Right here underneath the air filter, I'm going to put about a few heavy-duty 6x6s or some blocks, whatever I can find to support that weight, and then I'll disconnect the front up here and roll it away. Well, I got the oil pan off and looking at the internals here, and it looks pretty good so far from what I'm able to see. Again, I'm not a trained professional, so I'm really not sure what I'm looking at here, but um, everything's nice and shiny. I don't see anything broken on the inside. Everything looks intact. All the gears are pretty tight, and the teeth look good on them. The only thing that's questionable is maybe the oil pump. I don't know. I saw a couple of videos where people were playing with this and said that if it moved any, that it was needed to be rebuilt. I mean, it's moving, but I don't know how tight this, the spec should say it should be. I don't know, but a kit is only it's less than $50, so I'll just buy a kit and rebuild the oil pump. So got the oil pan off, and on the inside, there is some sludge down at the bottom. I don't see anything shiny. However, when I do feel the sludge that's down there, it is gritty, so it's not real smooth. I do feel a little bit of grit in the sludge, so somewhere something could not be running right. But as old as this tractor is, and obviously it's had some work on it since it's got an 8N motor on a 9N. Somebody's taken this apart within its lifetime, so that's okay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish tearing the motor apart and getting everything separated so I can have it measured and spec'd out if it's within spec or not. So let me finish tearing the motor apart. Alright, I've got the block completely torn down. The only thing I could not get out was the camshaft, and so I was starting to burr those nuts on the top that holds the camshaft in, and I said nope, I'm not going to make it difficult for the machinist. He's already got to take the cam out because the cam is bad. It's got some wearing on each one of the I guess they're called knuckles. I'm not sure what they're called on the cam, but there's worn marks on them, and there's a couple of little chips broken off of a couple. So I need a new cam for sure. And then I got all the other parts right here stacked, ready to go. I'm going to take the oil pump out, but everything else is going to go to the machine shop and get cleaned and checked for with a micrometer to make sure they're within spec or what else I need. So we'll go ahead and get the head in along with the block and these parts, and I'm not sure how long it's going to take the machinist to do all this. I'll have to find out when I drop it off, but hopefully it won't be too long because I'd like to get this back together while it's still fresh in my mind on how I took it apart. But that's it for now, and so stay tuned and we'll get this thing back together, but that's where we're at right now. All right, take care. God bless.